Hello and welcome to Movie Night Mates, a real-time film commentary podcast. I am your host, Dan, and I'm joined as I am every week by my good friend and fellow movie enjoyer and avid not animal eater,
Jess.
And we are also joined today by a previous guest, but future for a couple reviews, sort of pseudo-host, our new third wheel, our official George. You've been bumped up the list to members of the Beatles now. Maybe we should do a different band. Maybe we should do One Direction can be our band.
Yeah, because
I'll be the Harry.
More than 4 people.
And you guys can be all of the ones who didn't have a career after it ended. So
No.
I'll be Louis because he's a little.
Anyway, sorry. Say your name. Say your name.
I'm Avery.
Avery was on for our most popular episode to date, Dear Evan Hansen. Literally, it is.
Wow.
It's Dear Evan Hansen and then Diana.
It's because of me. I brought it in.
I think it's just we need to do bad musicals forever now.
I'll quit before
forever.
Cats will be our finale for that trilogy of bad musicals. So today we're doing a movie review of Fresh. Unless before we get started, Avery, do you want to give a little intro about yourself now that you're a more official part than just a guest, or are you good?
No,
I can
I'm
edit
fine.
this out if you don't want
The
to.
people don't need to know.
No.
I'll keep it in then. I'll keep it in. We'll keep it mysterious. A regular Steve for our podcast.
No, you should go back and listen to our Dear Evan Hansen episode so that you know who Avery is.
Yeah.
And also just do that because it's very fucking funny.
Just brace yourself, but
It's so many more jump scares in that movie than there was in this.
truly.
No, real.
It's true.
Oh my god, I really wish that you remember. Sorry, off to a bad tangent already. You know how the Oscars did the top 10 most cheer-worthy moments in film history this year, whatever, and a bunch of Snyder fans. Oh, they did that as a fan-voted Oscar, and what won was Flash enters the Speed Force from Zack Snyder's Justice League, because Zack Snyder fans are insane and they flooded the votes. It's the same reason that a Zack Snyder movie won Best Fan Film, even though it was made for Spider-Man to win, but Spider-Man came in third behind Army of the Dead and Cinderella, because Camila Cabello fans are also insane. Anyway, I really wish that the number one voted one was Evan crying in a forest from Dear Evan Hansen. That would have been amazing. Anyway, today we're doing a movie review of Fresh, the Fresh film off Hulu. I'm gonna see myself out for that one.
All right.
A horror rom-com thriller, I'd say. Actually, it's more of a thriller than a horror.
One of
thriller
my notes
rom-com.
is that. Yeah.
And directed by Mimi Cave and written by Lauren Kahn, so 2 women heading this up, and produced by Adam McKay, who I didn't know was involved in this at all.
I'm surprised.
Until he showed up in the credits. He's, a director of Vice, Don't Look Up, yada, yada, yada. Quite a few movies. But this is Fresh is a Hulu original, premiered in March of this year, and it follows, to give a general overview, it follows the dating life of a girl in Portland when she meets a hot, dashing young doctor who's really charismatic and everything, and she falls head over heels in love with him. The main characters are played by Daisy Edgar-Jones and Sebastian Stan, supported by Jonica T. Gibbs, Charlotte LeBon, Andrea Bang, Deo Okiniyi, and Brett Deer, sorry. So let's jump into it. It starts with our heroine, Noah, which they didn't say her name for a while, so I was reading the subtitles and I was like, Noah? What is, it was
what does it say?
Who is this? Noah?
I liked the opening shot. It starts under her car and then pans up. No opening credits yet. And And she's on a fake Tinder. We like to keep track of fake Googles in movies on this podcast.
Yeah,
and
I loved there was a fake texting, fake Tinder, like there were a lot of fake things in this. It was funny. And then Google was real. It was interesting.
Which is really weird. I don't know why they did that. But I put, and this comes back later, actually, I didn't even note it for any other reason than I just liked that she had the Golden Girls theme song as her ringtone. But that actually comes into play later in the movie. And she's on a date with Chad, who is just like a hipster douchebag played by Brett Deer, who I think is a very funny actor. He was in Jane the Virgin and a lot of other stuff where he can shine a little bit more, but I liked his little kind of cameo here.
I said that the entire opening scene of her like on this date was just like one enormous ick. Like that's just who his character was. Like it was just everything he was saying and doing was awful, and like the whole interaction was just like, okay, clearly this is like where her dating life is at.
Yeah, and like I definitely think he listens to Joe Rogan. He gave off. First, I thought he was like a soft boy, but then he was like immediately started negging her and was like, I just wish that like women of our generation knew how to dress. Like, like back in the day, like they wouldn't wear these oversized sweaters and stuff like that.
Like, bro, look at your scarf. Oh my God.
Like your scarf is on your lo mein, but okay.
The only thing that like weirded me out about him was he was like a early 2010s kind of hipster douche. Like that was the only weird thing, like the scarf and everything. Like I feel like, I don't know, that's not really relevant anymore. I guess this movie might have been written before, like, and maybe like just kind of kept updating it, and the scarf just kind of always stuck. But he looked like mid 2010s hipster jerk.
But also like the way that they made the fake texting look just looked like old iPhone. Like it was the blue background instead of white. So I was like, is this supposed to be set earlier, or is it just like
maybe it's a period
too
piece.
Random stylistic?
And yeah, so he sucks, and the date sucks, and she leaves, and we get kind of an early framing in the movie of like the relationship to meat and food of humans, like how we react. Like, you know, she's in a Chinese restaurant, she's eating meat. When she's on her way out, there's like, you know, all the rotisseries and stuff are going, and it's just like a very blatant demonstration of how humans will just kind of like tear into meat and everything. Then we are introduced to her best friend, played by Jonica T. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Jonica T. Gibbs as Molly, and they're kickboxing and everything, and like talking about how much dating sucks. And I wrote down a line that I kind of felt BuzzFeedy to me. I don't know if it did to you guys, but she's like, yeah, fuck Ariel, fuck Beauty and the Beast, like talking about like how she hates like the fairy tale romance. But then I kind of realized about 15 minutes into the movie that the first 30 minutes were clearly like kind of a parody of rom-coms. Like it played into all of the tropes of rom-coms of like having a best friend and like a workaholic main character who's not good on dates, and there's a meet cute and everything. So I'm hoping, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that was purposefully written as a little bit cheesy, but also a little bit of foreshadowing when she brings up Beauty and the Beast, and they talk about that, because this is kind of a weird Beauty and the Beast movie in a lot of senses. I got that, like, especially, we can jump around, because, by the way, spoiler alert for the whole movie, we're going to talk about it all. Later in the movie, he's like, here's a dress, like, meet me for, like, come to dinner with me in my house where I'm keeping you captive, which is very Beauty and the Beast.
Can I just say that was also one of the ugliest dresses I've ever seen in my entire life.
Not the way she pulled up in the Converse.
The way
like,
the Converse, so Tumblr.
I'm guessing the
Converse. I dress in my
Converse.
Converse. I'm not like other girls. That's what he wanted her to be.
I'm guessing the Converse is just because that's what she was wearing when she came there, and like didn't bring anything else.
But it was still like, and then he picked out this dress. Meanwhile, also like, clearly he has like some sense of style. Like he wasn't dressed poorly at all. So then why was
he
this
was
like god awful like
whole movie.
vintage dress?
I loved all of his outfits. I would wear every outfit he wore. But it's also weird because like if he doesn't want her to run away, put her in heels. Put her in the highest heels possible. Like don't give her literal running shoes.
Anyways.
Anything to say so far? And Jess, please feel free to throw in your 2 cents as someone in the dating world throughout the movie, what it felt like.
As someone that's single? Like, okay.
Call it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, men on dating apps are truly the worst. Like, what else do you want me to say?
Good. Okay, I just wanted that confirmation because I've never.
The like quick scene of her like getting a message from someone and then like giving him the time of day, and then he's like, "Send nudes, I could make you wet." It was like, yeah, that happens. Like, that's not
really.
far off. Like,
I was gonna ask that if that's like really like any experience.
I mean, it's not like every single man, but if
just,
anyone were to say they've never
had
an experience like that on a dating app, they're lying. So.
No, literally, like the first 5
With a
minutes
man.
of the movie, I wrote down it summarizes the woman's experience, like how she thought someone was following her, how she how she said no to the guy and he was like, "You bitch," like blah blah blah. Like, just acting like he was like, "You're not even my type." Like, getting so
I
mad.
did like that one. That part made me laugh when she's like, "I don't think we should see each other again." He's like, "Fine, fuck you, bitch," and just like leaves.
Yeah.
But it's like that happened.
But that literally happened.
Yeah, he literally said, "Let's do this again," and then was like, "Oh no, okay, fuck you." It's like,
yeah, you stuck on
Yeah.
that shit. It's like, oh, okay.
So from here we get a glimpse more into her life as, classic single girl in a rom-com. As I said, workaholic. She's working into the night. She's a graphic designer, I think.
Yeah,
or something.
It wasn't clear.
Or she like runs her own. Maybe she runs her own Etsy store, which honestly, kind of later in the movie,
striking right now?
parallels. Yeah, is she drinking? Like, drinking
I said
is
Striking.
Oh my god. I thought I said
Too
like
soon?
drinking
Sorry.
like glass of wine or whatever. Yeah, don't date the podcast, Avery, with current events. God. And she has to cook because when she opens her fridge, I'm like, "You living like this?" Like, it looks disgusting from the inside. Like, her soy milk has like dust and grime on it, and she has like rotting strawberries in her fridge. I'm like,
it's the hipster way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's set in Portland, by the way, if that wasn't clear already.
But her apartment looks nice. I was like, how are
Yeah, it
you
was
making
a
that
cute
money?
apartment.
Successful Etsy store, I guess. So she
Pre-pandemic.
has to go to the grocery store, and she meets Steve there in the produce aisle because he's out shopping, and he's very
You
charming.
were getting celery. You were
Yeah, he was buying rosé.
You. Oh my god. That's just what this
Speak
entire
your
movie
fucking
was.
Truth. Like, words are my love language, so just speak your fucking truth. Fair enough. Exactly.
Speak your truth. Yeah, I eat people. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yum.
But I wrote in my notes, holy shit, it's the Winter Soldier. It's Sebastian Stan. Very nice guy. I've met him, not to brag. He was very nice when I met him. Very tall. The thing is, he's like kind of, I guess, like stocky and beefy, so he doesn't look as tall as he is, but he's like a tall dude. And I learned that being next to him, and there's a picture of us, so I'll post it on the socials. NBD just met Sebastian Stan like
Sebastian
7 years
Stan
ago.
is 6 foot. He's not that
Yeah.
tall.
Oh,
stand.
he doesn't
I
look
stand him.
like, if you just like
kidding,
looked at him, you'd guess like 5'10", maybe. Like,
Short king.
It also
Short
doesn't
king.
help
Yeah,
that
that's fair.
a lot of people know him most from like Marvel, obviously, where he's standing next to Chris Evans all the time,
Who's,
who's
like, what,
6'4",
7'?
and like Chris Hemsworth, who is also really tall,
Yeah.
and he's just tall, regular tall,
Normal tall. Normal people tall.
Anyway, he establishes that he has a sister and a niece really early to say, "Women trust me and get along with me." I noticed that as a little trick. And it's also kind of like a meta casting of Sebastian Stan, kind of like Chris Evans was in Knives Out, because like immediately, if you're going into this movie blind, which genuinely, if you're listening to this, you should be going into it as blind as possible. Don't listen to this. Go watch the movie and then come back. It's like meta casting in like he's almost always a hero and a nice guy in other movies he's in, except for maybe Pam and Tommy, where he's like the worst. But that's about it, which I appreciated. And we
so
find
hot.
out that Steve, he's a good-looking dude.
Like
He is-
I'm sorry. But when no, we don't have to skip ahead, but never mind.
Just bring it up. Bring it up later.
When you said bad girl.
Dude, I know.
it sent something.
You are not. Like, oh my god.
You can knock my head against a thing. That's fine.
You can cut my
You are joking because I literally wrote after that part, man, you know this is someone's fetish.
Okay, well, it's mine and Avery's.
Oh my god. No,
anyway, we learn he's a doctor because they go on a date. And he's a plastic surgery doctor, plastic surgeon specifically. He's a nice guy. I hope nothing goes wrong from here on out. He doesn't have any social media. This is also where
the shots started getting weird because before it was, or at least
it gets once he gets introduced, it gets a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more fun.
Like on the date, they like get through the little awkward like, "Hello, who are you?" conversation, and then as they like clearly start getting into each other, there's like really close-ups of like their mouths and their eyes, and like it's like disorienting because it's like, you know that like in any other like normal rom-com this would just be them like flirting with each other and it's like lovey music in the background and blah blah blah, but it was like, okay, now I'm just like unsettled, but I'm like supposed to like feel nice that they're into each other at this point, so it was definitely like the start of the weird like something's wrong here.
Exactly. I just assumed he was lying when he was like, I'm a plastic surgeon. I was like, are you just making this up on the fly? Like I didn't it just felt like he was like coming up with it, and I was like, and I thought she knew, and then she was going to be like, okay, come on, what are you really? Because she was joking along, and I just didn't understand that. I was like, wait.
People are doctors, really?
No.
We're not old enough to be dating doctors, any of us. I mean, I shouldn't be dating, but, you know, in case. Fingers crossed, hoping for a beautiful Sebastian Stan doctor man.
Hoping for a braless wife to come give me a sandwich.
No, I already have braless wife to come give me sandwich, not asked for.
Not
as
asked
I get
for.
A triple kill in the bot lane. So anyway, how's your day going? I did note how many cherries they probably had to eat filming this scene.
True.
I would never want to see a cherry again.
Love
unless he uses a spit bucket. By the way, actors out there, if you're ever in a movie, they don't tell you about the spit bucket. You have to request it for a food scene. So do that. Ask for a spit bucket. Otherwise, you got to eat
now
everything.
All the aspiring actors that listen to our podcast know to ask for
At
a
least
spit bucket.
Thanks so
we
much.
have one on the podcast.
Thanks, Dan, from Movie Night Notes. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
So after the very dynamic little like kind of montage that we get, as Jess pointed out, very intimate shots of like lips and eyes and everything, which I really liked, which makes sense because it's like their perspective of each other, and that's what you look at when you're attracted to someone, are lips and eyes. Then she's like, I don't believe in true love, and like, fuck true love, but like her whole thing is like fuck it at this point, and then she like makes out with him and then they have sex. And during the sex scene, like, he's like, can we just take a break for a second? And she's like, sure, do you want anything to eat? Anything to drink? Anything to eat? And he just goes, just you. And I was like, he's gonna eat her.
I was like, okay.
It would have been better if he was like, I'll eat your ass, because that really would have been, like, foreshadowing for later.
But also, like, a really weird thing to say for somebody to say on, like, a one-night stand.
Yeah, on the first date, yeah.
You don't know.
Well, because he also was just like, hold on, we're going too fast. And then to follow that with, I'll eat your ass is like, that's a little, that would have been a little out of character.
First things first, I'll eat your ass, then I'm gonna start eating all.
Alright, anyways.
And then Noah, like, takes a picture of him while he's sleeping, which is weird as fuck.
I was like so into her as a character, and then she did that, and I was like, "You freak!"
Actually,
do you see her at the end? You gotta be freaky to get like to play that part. That she
I know.
Captive.
But I was, like,
I would be shitting, crying, throwing up. So.
Yeah, honestly, like
actually, I didn't like her at first, and liked her more as the movie went on. I thought, it was because I didn't realize that it was supposed to be kind of like a rom-com parody. I was like kind of bored with her at first, and then
it was
got it
until you like figure that out.
It seemed like the self-pity, like, I'm good at being alone.
Oh, we also learned on the date that she doesn't have any family. Thank you for reminding me, Avery. Yes. She only has her mom, who she doesn't really speak to, so her really only point of contact is her friend Molly. who immediately flags that he doesn't have an Instagram as a red flag, which...
And while
nice.
that is, like, then show your friend, like, you can find people even if they're not, like, why didn't she Google him? Like, I mean, obviously that wouldn't have, like, then the movie wouldn't have happened if she, like, Googled him and realized that he's not actually a doctor, like, that kind of thing.
No, he is a doctor.
Well,
he just
like,
has a family.
Exactly. Like Molly later on is able to, like, find him, but, like, I would try to find a picture before taking a picture of the man I've just slept with sleeping the next morning to send to my best friend. I feel like that's, like, a weird thing to do.
There's a stink bug in my room one sec.
I was just so hung up on it for a while. I was like, I don't know. Because I was like, she's a cool rom-com, girl, whatever. And then I was like, what the? You don't just take pictures of people, whatever. I was like, that's very strange.
Yeah. No, yeah. Just ask for the last name and be like, I'm a woman in the dating world. I need to see who.
Exactly.
Okay. I need to see if you're, like, legit.
Exactly. Like, there's a difference between saying fuck it and doing everything unsafe, or just saying fuck it and being like, but at least I know you're not gonna, kidnap and eat me.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So where are we? What did I miss? That her friend pointed out. Hey, okay, cool. She reheats some leftovers, and she's like, do you want some of these spare ribs? I love them. And he's like, I don't eat animals.
Red flag. Why do you say that? Why do you say it like that?
Animals.
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's how I tell people that I'm vegetarian. I'm like, I don't eat animals.
Exact, but you just say you don't eat meat, because there's no point. You don't have to... make the differentiation between meat and animals. Then he's immediately like, have you told anyone about me? And
that face.
And then she's like, haha, just my friend Molly. And he's like, so what does she know about me? And like stares at her. And she's like, just that, like, I love you or whatever. And then they have a dance scene, and I wrote, this is cinema. This is where the movie hooked me really in, baby. I loved it.
Then this was at the point where I was like, I think this has to be kind of like a commentary on, like, I don't know, just the way that they, like, got into the dancing, and then I know it was supposed to be cute and rom-com, but this was another, like, okay, no, I'm just, like, a little freaked out right now, like something's wrong here.
It had the same energy as, like, the dance scene from the first Deathly Hallows movie with Harry and Hermione, where they're, like, dancing in the tent. That's why I loved it. And he's like, let's go on vacation together. We'll go to Cottage Grove or whatever. And she's like, yay!
That's another.
And so he shows up.
Another big red flag. You can say fuck it. You can sleep with people. You can do, but you got to do it safe.
No, he's a lesbian.
Why are you like?
That's
yes,
what I
I've
know.
known you
He's
for a week. Let's go on a trip together.
Because they're lesbians. Like,
they're U-hauling.
Honestly, yeah, Sebastian Stan. If you styled his hair right and gave him some blonde, he looked like Ellen. I think he could play Ellen.
God.
And then he shows up in his Tesla, of course, because he's rich and annoying about it. And they drive, and he's immediately like, he picks her. He's going to pick her up. He's like, you know what? Actually, the traffic's terrible, so maybe we can just go straight like first thing in the morning. Want to come sleep at my house instead? And she's like, yeah, sure. Instead of, okay, just pick me up in the morning. I'm already home. Just pick me up in the morning and we'll go.
Instead, they drive what seems like 8 hours to wherever he's living.
Yeah, he lives in like the wild, like the forests around Portland. I don't know the setup of Portland, but you know.
But he's clearly picking her up.
It is
like,
a beautiful
around midday, maybe like afternoon.
And then
when they get to the house, it's dark outside. Like the sun has set.
I thought we just didn't see. I didn't know that was his place at first. I thought this was Cottage Grove, so I was like, bro, that took hours to get there.
Same. I was like, they left in the morning and then realized.
It's like they left in the morning. Now they only have one full day to hang out there. And
yeah,
they
exactly.
Have to go back.
And yeah, so they go to his house. She doesn't have any cell service. Yay! It's in the middle of nowhere. Yay! Mm-hmm. I wrote my note here is Noah must be colorblind because she ain't seeing these red flags.
No, like I think it's just the classic,
as her friend said,
like oblivious white girl. Yeah. Like,
I guess it's also it's playing on like the tropes of a rom-com where it's like immediate trust and love and bonding. Like after one meet cute and one date, it's like, yeah, if you were watching fucking Fever Pitch, I don't know why that's the first rom-com that came to my mind. The one with Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon, where he
That was haunting.
Where he plays like a Red Sox fan. Anyway, you wouldn't think twice of like, oh yeah, they're going on a fun day trip or whatever, but this ain't that movie. It's not like that anymore. And he makes her a drink. He's like, it's an old fashioned with his own twist. And
I knew he drugged it.
And then he's immediately like, are you getting the flavors? And so she like takes a sip and she says something and he's like, no. And then she does it again. And he's like, no. And then it's like, he's totally just doing it. So she drinks it quickly without really thinking about it.
She also, right before she starts drinking the drink, she's like looking at a painting on the wall and she's like looking at it up close. And you can tell that there's a tooth in the paint, which is creepy. Did you miss that?
Ew.
Yeah. So that big like impressionist painting, like the Jackson Pollock looking one, do you think that was made with body parts?
I don't know, because they didn't like excuse me, they didn't like bring attention to that again, but she's like staring at the painting and then there's like a few shots of her like looking at it like closer and closer, and you can tell that the only part of the paint that's like in focus in the camera, it's like her and then this one part of the paint, and you can tell that there's like a tooth in it, which is creepy. And
then we get our title card 33 minutes in and a full title sequence, which I really liked, actually. I really like the title sequence, and I love a late title card. The only other movie that's that late is like the Friday the 13th remake that I can think of. And I know that Christopher Nolan isn't a fan. He puts title cards at the end of his movies, so that doesn't
It did
really
kind of
count
make
for
me
this.
think, though, like, since it was 30 full minutes in, like, I get the beginning was supposed to be the, like, rom-com parody, but at the same time, like, I felt like I'd watched an episode of something, because I can't remember the last movie that put all of the credits at the beginning, and so I was like, it felt disorienting, and I had to, like, check what time it was, and I was like, 30 minutes, like, it just, it was interesting.
And it was like, that's a whole good portion of my notes were the first 30 minutes because it establishes a lot, which is good to have a lot of notes. She wakes up in a cell, a very comfortable looking cell, by the way. I have to add, like, it's got a built-in bed that's part of the floor. It's got carpet.
Why? Because it is carpet? Because she's chained to the floor in a room that has carpet?
Look,
that looks comfortable to you?
Steve did nothing wrong at this point. Steve has done nothing wrong in his life, and I will defend him. He's like, I drugged you, and he's wearing a sick-ass turtleneck as well. Like a villain. Yeah. His house was very Bond villainy, like, immediately. And he's like...
Anything with that, unnecessary 70s vibe in the middle of a forest. Very, like, serial killer.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's supposed to be like Ted Bundy, I guess.
So 70s. After this credit scene, after the first 30 minutes, and then seeing this... And then I was like, it's written and directed by women? I was like, this shit is fucked. Like, what the fuck is going on?
I mean, they're just pulling from their experience. They're being
I know, it
a woman
just makes
and dating.
Me respect it more, because if a man did it, I feel like it just wouldn't be successful.
What if it was Jordan Peele? It had kind of a...
I don't know, I still don't think... Yeah, but I just don't think it would have, like... And I'm glad they added the title so I could see that, because in the beginning or at the end I wouldn't have paid attention to who directed it or wrote it.
That's why I love opening title sequences. I feel like they're a lost art. Like they can be really good and really fun and really set the scene. But
the font that they were using was cool.
It was all squiggly.
It added to the like disorienting effect that they had like started to kind of trickle in like as the beginning was happening.
Yeah,
exactly. And he's like, I'm going to tell you why you're here, but you're going to freak out. And I thought this scene might have been... like, I feel like this scene was for sure an audition scene, because you can always tell what the audition scenes were in movies and TV shows, because both of them are really on point with it. So it's like, you can really tell. I think this must have been one. Because this is one of the best in this movie, if not like the best scene in the movie, of this first interaction of him as like a full villain and her as his captive. He kills women and sells their meat to rich people. That's how he makes a living.
But he keeps them alive.
He keeps them alive as long as possible. Yeah.
You know what I also wrote down?
Sell your meat and hair. Sorry. That's what he says.
And what I also wrote down was, as soon as I saw her chained up, I was like, is this going to be another of those stupid, like, daring escape movies? Because I was kind of tired of that. But then it did change my opinion on them. But I was like, my first thought was like, oh, fuck.
I mean, I'm still excited for that movie, The Black Phone, coming out now this summer.
Okay.
It's supposed to come out, like, last month.
Even though the trailer literally tells you what happens.
Whatever. I read the short story. Anyway. I'm still excited. And this scene, Sebastian Stan can be like scary. Like, I've only seen him at like scary in like a superhero setting where he's like the Winter Soldier and he's just like emotionless and killing people without like really thinking about it. But like talking and stuff, he really nailed it. You were going to say something, Jess.
I just wrote, like, around this point, it was a few scenes later, but I wrote that he's a very convincing psychopath, which is funny because I don't care about Marvel. I've, like, barely seen anything that he's been in otherwise.
Guys,
and so, like,
we're not breaking kayfabe here. You love Marvel.
And so, like, literally my knowledge of what he can do as an actor is, like, look moody and sweaty in a Marvel movie, because I literally have never seen, like, all I know is like pictures of him from those movies.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I'm like a little freaked out, like the way he's talking and acting and like randomly laughing and shit. I was like, okay, like,
which means
very unsettling.
You bring in a perspective that like Avery and I don't have, because I know that you watch every Marvel movie, but I also know that you get blackout drunk every single time, so you can see it for the first time.
Yeah,
again.
That's a good precedent.
You wipe it from your mind, so you can watch the movie for the first time again.
Like the
so Avery and I come into this with knowledge of Marvel. Like in Arrested Development, where Job keeps roofying himself and gets into a cycle of roofying.
Yeah, that's
himself.
Just me with Marvel movies.
It's the only way to do it.
We like Sebastian Stan has this. Well, actually, the first movie I saw him in was The Covenant, which is a very homoerotic warlock movie, which I really suggest. Yeah. It's so underrated.
Warlock?
It's amazing.
What an
it does for warlocks what Twilight did for vampires.
Okay. All right.
It has Sebastian Stan. It has Taylor Kitsch from Friday Night Lights, and they play magic boys who like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like an
it's
anime.
It's called The Covenant. Check it out. It is an anime. But we're coming to it with a preconceived notion of him as like this more heroic character. I have seen him maybe play, I guess he kind of is a villain at first in Marvel, but he's not really like a villain
just, like,
where
moody.
he's and it's not his fault. It's because he's brainwashed the whole time. Like, I guess the closest I've seen him to playing a villain is in Pam and Tommy, and that was very recently as well. And I didn't even finish that show. Oh, actually, he plays a villain in Hot Tub Time Machine, but but that's besides the point. He's like a very comedic villain. But it's funny you say that, because in terms of him, like, his laughing and weirdness, I wrote a line later that'll bring up now during the surgery scene where he's like, I'm cutting your ass off or whatever. I was like, Sebastian Stan could play a really good Freddy Krueger. Like, if they had to get a now Freddy Krueger, he brought the same energy to this as like Robert Englund does in those movies. And I feel like given him some makeup and stuff and a razor glove, I feel like he could really nail that role.
Well,
he might be a little too tall, but I don't know.
I feel like his like goofy side of being a psychopath, though, is a kind of a common trope, because it's like clearly he's not feeling emotions like other normal people do, because you know he sells meat, but he also like I feel like the way that he was kind of, you know, clearly in some parts like very violent and scary, and then like also was treating her differently, and so it was like one of those like he has like the multiple different like facets to his like very sick personality type deal. So I thought the like laughing and stuff during the surgeries made sense, because that's like when he's actively doing like the terrifying thing
and stuff.
Because like eating the people is one part, but like actively like these women are alive and you're just like chopping off their body parts and stuff like that, and then being like singing and he's smoking and and like, you know, like being goofy about it, like very common psychopath like trope.
But also, I mean, her in this
like
scene,
American Psycho, he's
Edgar-Jones,
laughing while he's doing it. It's like the same thing, you know.
Yeah, Daisy Edgar-Jones during the scene was fantastic too. But we should move on from this, otherwise we're gonna get caught up. She meets her next door neighbor in another cell, Penny, who is a girl in the same situation as her, along with Melissa, who's completely lost her mind. And then we cut back to Molly, who is now finally like doing a reverse image search on these texts, mysterious texts she's getting from Noah. And I wrote a thing that I kind of regretted writing. Her friend has good horror instincts. We find out later she really doesn't. In this moment, she does.
But for a friend who's trying to cover for like so clearly she thinks her friend has gone off the rails and is just like on this trip with some dude, so she has to like do her own little FBI thing. Like I've had friends that are like, oh my, whatever, and like you gotta stalk a guy and whatever, like, so that part of it was very realistic. But then like once she realizes that like, oh wait, hold on, my friend's like actually in danger and I need to like start doing
like
stuff
sending
about
the
this.
heart instead of like she
Exactly.
knew something was wrong.
Yeah, I like that. It's like immediate alarm bells.
Yeah,
I was watching this with JJ, and he said immediately when that happened, he was like, she knows something's up. As soon as she got that weird
because they kept saying "I love you" like all the time.
Exactly.
Love you more, and I knew it would come back in some way because after every phone call, every text, they say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing that I did want to say, and I don't know if anybody else got this vibe, and then I know why I felt it in later, but when you meet Penny, you don't see her. Obviously, a lot of it is from Noah's perspective in the beginning, so you only really see like what she's seeing. So like you don't see Penny until kind of like, I don't know, maybe over halfway through the movie is when you like see that Penny's another person. I like kept thinking that Penny was fake, or that like he was doing something.
It was going to be the wife
like,
in the end or something.
I thought it was
I
going to
didn't
be
trust Penny at
someone
all.
who was in
And the only time that I started actually thinking that she was real was when Penny starts like crying, and this is like scenes later. But I didn't know if that was like also a thing, because I just like didn't trust anyone, because I was like, other people are in on it, or maybe like I don't know what the deal is, so like I didn't trust Penny at all. And until later on, she like has a scene where she's crying and is like, I can't do this anymore. The camera then shows her, and so it was like, okay, she's like actually another person that's like trapped here. But I was like, are there really other women here? Is it just like him doing something crazy and like playing recordings, or like I don't know, like is it something else? But okay, glad to know I wasn't alone.
And we get another great scene of him dancing upstairs while preparing the meat.
Yes.
Dancing to Obsession by Animotion, which was a beautiful sequence.
Yeah, I like the soundtrack.
Yeah.
This I literally wrote, it's like he's running an Etsy store.
I wrote
like,
the same thing.
He has his little like cards.
I wrote the same
and
thing.
It's like
packaging with care. Like he should have put like a sticker pack in.
And some, like a little bit of glitter and like a Tootsie Pop or something.
Literally.
We love our small businesses. I don't know why. He's just not scary to me. He's just really hot. Like, I'm sorry. He wasn't scaring me.
And then he goes back to Noah, and she's like, can I take a shower? And he's like, give me a smile then. And she does. So he like takes her upstairs, and we guys discuss this. She tries to escape. He says, bad girl, and smacks her head against the wall.
Don't bring it up.
Can't even think about it again. Please.
Why did you blindfold
As I
her?
said, it's someone's fetish. And I wrote a note, the lady under the carpet video. Have you seen that? It was like a meme video of like from some weird like fetish shit of like this guy. It's like a demonstration of some system that you can buy. This guy puts the woman in like this cage, and then it goes into the floor of their living room. It's like, I guess like some sort of like capture kink or something. Don't want to kink shame, but this is fucked up, and you should go to therapy if you have this kink. And like she's tied up in this cage, goes into the floor, and then he puts a piece of carpet over it, and then puts like a coffee table, and then just like kicks his feet up, and like that's like the kink, like that's the thing. And it reminded me of that. Like that's why I was like, this is someone's fetish for sure.
If you're into that,
like,
you need therapy immediately.
What?
And he has this Bond villain house and everything. It is weird that she's not blindfolded, but also he's not anticipating her ever leaving, so I get
And it's
why.
very clear too, like in the scene where he's introducing like what he's gonna do to her, and he's like, whatever, it's like very clear that he's stronger than her. She like tries to run at him, and like within 1 second he's like huddled with her on the ground, like, so he's clearly like, I could take it out.
That Marvel training. Yeah. I'm surprised she never tried to get him close and strangle him with the chain, though. That was the only thing I thought that was going to maybe happen.
With her little arms? Come on.
Yeah.
When I saw her doing the boxing, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
She wasn't even making it move. It wasn't. It was like she wasn't even punching it.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I was like, girly.
Again, we get some great soundtrack of him cut it while he cuts her butt off. I don't really know why it was her butt. I thought it was maybe going to be like a foot or something.
It's probably, oh yeah.
Like, so she can't run. I don't know. But that's what he does. He takes the rump. And Detective Molly is now on the case for sure. She's, interviewing Paul, who is the bartender. And she used to date him, the bartender from when Noah and Steve went on a date at his bar. and he gives her Steve's full name. And we see Steve's wife's Facebook, and I like what she was scrolling there, the Blue Lives Matter thing. I was like, fuck, yeah, of course. Of course.
Yep.
And then it goes back to Noah, and Penny gets taken, Noah's like in this stupor. Penny is taken from her cell, and like she's screaming and kicking and stuff. And I liked, there was this really cool shot from that of the hallway, then it like faded into the road that Molly was driving on to go find Steve's family's house, because she found it online. I don't know what this... I said Steve's really just something out here. I don't know. Hating out here, I guess. He's a hater.
Well...
Yeah. Oh. He's sending the meat, we find out, to like weird old white dudes in like kind of a semi-satanic way. Like there's a satanic goat on everything.
Which
he has like...
That could have like not been part of it. It could have just been. It doesn't have to be like a satanic
like
thing.
One group.
I guess it's supposed to like just show like a bigger
like it's
world.
Only
to
yeah,
it.
and the way he describes it is like it's the 1% of the 1%. Like these people want something that other people don't have, other than all of the money in the world. But okay, so like sure, have a hobby.
and they have like a representative who comes and takes the meat, and he has a very impressive braid. I have to note that. I like that a lot. And I wrote a note here, like, why isn't Molly calling the cops and giving his name?
She made good points, though.
What was her points?
Who would believe, like, she's off with this guy. He has, he comes home every day.
You should,
and
but
they're all
also,
white.
They're all white, and
I guess
also,
there's that,
like,
but also you can say, like, the reverse
weird.
image video.
And also, like, my friend is texting weird. Police would be like, okay. And, like,
She kind of wasn't in the best shape mentally, I don't think. Like, not, like, suicidal or anything, but, like, definitely kind of down on her luck, not really caring about her well-being. That's how she got in this situation a little bit. She said, fuck it. She's in a reckless state right now. So the cops would just be like, okay, well, I mean, he's coming home every day. There's nothing suspicious. He's... like,
that's
shows
true.
The house. It's probably soundproof, and he doesn't need unless they have like a warrant. He can be like, yeah, no.
I guess also it might not be a house that's on record or something.
Yeah, it could be on the other people.
Yeah, so like that would be the house that they search would be the one she's at. Okay, you guys convinced me. And then it cuts back to Noah talking to Steve, and she's like, "What does it taste like?" And I was like, "Who's manipulating who now?" Mm-hmm. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. We love it.
Love it. Love to see it.
But Molly goes to Steve's house, meets his wife, Anne, and, like, starts telling her everything, and is like, your husband's cheating on you. And then Steve shows up, he's like, no, I'm Brendan. And she starts telling him everything. I would have been like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And then, like...
But she never really saw his face.
Got
like,
some
she
backup
points
or
that
something.
out. Like, in the picture, she didn't really see his face, so she was kind of
I feel like there was enough of his face to recognize it. Like, one half,
but I think
like,
they
the
made
eyebrows,
that
the
point.
hair.
Yeah.
And she saw a picture of him, like, dead on Facebook as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And then...
I did kind of suspect, though, that the wife was going to be like, oh, we've been divorced or something. Like, I thought she was going to be a character for
or that was his sister, and he was just like, there when she moved in or something.
Yeah,
or buying the house for her, like, because he got all that money.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize that it was also going to be like a double life type deal.
And then she calls Noah's phone, and it's the Golden Girls theme, and then Steve's like, oh, look, it's you. You shouldn't have done that. And then Anne hits her over the head, because Anne's in on it. I guess Anne hits her over the head with her leg or something. She pops that off.
When that happened, I was like,
stop.
She girl bossed her way to the top. Like,
I wrote horror movie instincts bad, actually, at this point. And I, like, knew that the wife was going to be in on it. I don't know. Just her vibes were off. The Blue Lives Matter thing put a bad
I was like,
taste in my
maybe
mouth.
it's the money. I suspected it too a little bit. I was like, but I didn't know why until, like, the end. And you still don't really know why.
Yeah, they left a lot of stuff up in the air. But it was also the like their life is too perfect, so like she had to be in on it, you know.
Yeah.
And now I guess it's up to Paul, the bartender, like switches to him as like our other character. And he's like, what's up? Because Molly sent him her location. Noah is asked to change for dinner. Very Beauty and the Beast. We find out that his wife is a former victim of his, it seems, who, as Avery said, girl bossed her way to the top.
Yeah.
Which I thought she was going to actually be sympathetic at the end, but she isn't.
And no,
she's wild.
The money changes you.
I did, though, at one point, I think it's before the dinner. Noah's looking through a bunch of magazines. She's like laying on the ground because, you know, she can't sit on her butt. And she's reading through magazines and flips to a page where somebody's handwritten in it. Like, if you're reading this, he likes you. Like, keep fighting to, like, get out or whatever.
How did she get a pen? I would stab him with it.
That, too.
Yeah, he gave her so many instruments to just stab him with.
Yeah.
A vase, the glass vase.
Yeah, knife or a fork.
And I don't know if this is wrong, but this, so the fact that the wife used to be clearly, like, a victim of this, and then now is married to him with children.
I mean, I get
there's
it.
There's a note, like, in the magazine, and then later, and the note is from someone named, like, Sammy, I think.
Sammy Akbari was
yeah,
her name.
and then later there's a picture of Sammy, like, when he reveals, like, his previous victims. There's a picture of Sammy, and her hair is covering her face. When the wife is in the mirror, before you realize that, like, she like takes off her leg to take a shower, so, like, you realize that she was a victim, she keeps looking at her face and, like, touching her face. And the fact that he's a plastic surgeon, I think that she is Sammy, and then, like, became, like, you know, girl bossed her way to the sun, basically, but then, like, he was able to help her change, kind of, because there's no other reason that she would be so loyal to him to try to kill Noah then in the end. Like,
I think she was just manipulated over the years.
But you don't see Sammy's face.
Controlled.
Sammy basically has, and, like, clearly this woman has, like, dyed platinum blonde hair. Like, Sammy just has hair all over her face.
She kind of had an accent, too.
She's like acting
like Russian, though.
So I felt like I don't know if that was, like, supposed to be something that I picked up on, but I was like, we're gonna see a picture of Sammy later, and it's either gonna, like, be this woman who's now Anne, or, like, it's just, like, too many weird things connecting. But I was like, I don't exactly, and so I'm like, is it that she thought she was manipulating her way out of it, but in the end, like, he just, like, created a wife for himself, or, like, is it they're two separate people and it's a separate thing? But I was like, that seems like she turned into somebody else, kind of. But I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if I made that up.
It's a good theory.
But with the different things that I picked up on, I was like, I feel like it kind of looks like it makes sense.
I thought it was just
I like that they were
like becoming unhinged
of info, that we didn't get a full talk about who he worked for, or, like, who exactly what was
and, like, how he got into it.
It's like, you know, we learn what our heroes learn throughout the movie, what Molly, Noah, and Paul learn.
And I think being able to, like, have it open to interpretation was kind of nice at the end, because there was no, like, stupid, like, where are they now type scene, like, at the end. It was just like, okay, they killed him.
Good ending.
I guess that's
because it's not realistic to solve the problem.
Because also they're fucked. If there's a secret society that knows who they are, they're fucked. They're not living, like, outside a week of that. Unfortunately, we'll get that to it. We'll get to it when we get to it. So now Steve Brendan Stendon is on a run, and he looks like a tool. He looks like such a tool while he's, like, running, and he's like, and he comes home and has some human prosciutto with, like, has, like, a tattoo on it. I wrote it down, so I read it phonetically. Again, good fits on Steve. We see more of the satanic goat pop up, and then Steve is like, it's now the dinner scene. He got prepped for his date. It's our first dinner with Noah and Steve, and he gives the whole backstory. We've kind of already talked about it. He works for a very specific clientele who are very, very rich. So much so that one meatball is like $30,000, he said.
They only like women?
They only eat women. And he started eating meat as a teenager and just, like, got hooked. He couldn't.
I wonder how.
Get the taste out of. Yeah.
I did wish there was, like, a little bit more backstory. I liked how the ending of the movie was up to interpretation, but I kind of wanted to know, like, also then was, like, I don't know.
How did he get human meat?
How did he get...
If this is successful, we might get a prequel or something about that, like a Hannibal Rising.
He then
which
also
explains
does
all about Hannibal.
The classic, like, also you're becoming one with somebody because, like, you're eating them or whatever, which is something I've heard with all true crime, cannibal shit. But every time I hear
like honoring them.
Exactly. But every time I hear something like that, like, you know you shit out the food that you eat, right? Like, so yeah, okay, they're in your stomach for a little, and then you shit them out.
It's like an energy thing, I guess. Oh, we also learned...
Really? That's, like, the main reason? Like, okay.
We learned earlier, I think right after Noah gets her butt cut off, Penny says, like, that she didn't sleep with him, so, like, she's like, use it. He must really like you. Yeah. So she's, like, really playing into that.
Yeah, she turns freaky.
She's asking a lot of questions. I wrote, is she making, like, a post-escape hit list in case she can track these people down? And then... she eats human. It is a wild sequence when she does. We get like all these weird, grotesque shots in like 15 seconds, like even shorter maybe.
It was so gross. I hate hearing people eat. And I was like, this whole movie is listening to people chew. I hate it.
which brings me to a question.
Yeah, like who don't eat well. They're like, it's so gross.
A question you can thank Rhett and Link for, because I listened to them recently, actually on the Dead Meat podcast. Thank them too. This was a question that was posed. If there was human meat that was obtained by someone who consented to it, like wanted to be eaten after they died, would you try it once?
That's a thing though, people wanting to be eaten.
That's also a completely different question. I've heard the like, I'm going to get my leg amputated or whatever, and so like I want the meat and then like I'm gonna eat it with my friends. I've like seen stories like that, and they like do that as like a friend thing. I'm like, yeah, no, I like my friends a lot.
I don't think I would. I don't think I would, but I think
I also have an excuse. I'm a vegetarian, so
yeah, but you don't eat animals because animals don't know. Technically, well, I guess you could say that eating human meat would be the only vegan meat you can eat because the human can consent to it. No, like knowing consent.
No. I also don't like the taste of meat. Like, I also just think it's gross.
You don't like the taste of animal meat.
I just think
I'm a no as well. I wouldn't, but
it's not relevant, I don't think, because like the whole point is that it's against their will. You know, people have rape fantasies. People have like things like that. Where
people have putting people in the carpet fantasies.
Yeah, apparently.
Like people have things where they don't like consent. Non-consent is all about the thrill. I don't think it would be as thrilling if a woman was like, "Yeah, I want you to eat me." They'd be like, "Okay, this isn't fun anymore." It's the fact that like they don't want it and they have more power over them because they don't want it and they're still doing it. So I don't think if they give permission,
I can't remember. I'm going to look up the name of like the case, but that's like, I've definitely heard this from, and that's why we drank podcast. But the one, it's like some dude like went on.
Oh, he's chopping his dick off himself to eat it. Right?
No, not that. It's like one dude like well, like one dude put it out there like, I want to eat somebody, and then somebody else was like, I want to be eaten.
Yeah, on
and
Craigslist.
Craigslist, like that thing. But I forget.
And he tried chopping off his penis while he was alive, and it just didn't work. It just wasn't going well. And he was like, eh.
I forget the name of the case.
So everybody here, Avery, were you a no on that? You would no. Consented human meat? Okay, same. Same. No, really. I just.
Oh, you're right. It was.
No matter,
it was
especially even if the person was like still alive, and was like consenting to it, and I could talk to them, it would still. I'd puke.
Maybe. Not raw. Maybe it was like cooked and like.
Is it illegal though? Is it illegal to eat human meat? Like if someone gets their leg amputated. Yes. I just don't know. Like if it's
so.
If it's,
or is it just like a very well-known taboo?
But officer, he said I could eat him. But officer, he said.
Officer, he said yes.
No, as long as the person doesn't die, of course, and like does even like maims themselves, like cuts their own leg or foot off or whatever.
I think if I was unsuspecting, like I honestly like. I don't know.
So, are you saying like if you were in like a terrible accident and your arm came off, you would just be like, no one's looking?
No, No, you gotta put it in like maybe the rotisserie oven, like get that shit.
Okay, so you wouldn't eat someone
Dry
else's
it out.
if you were getting a leg or an arm amputated. Would you eat your own, or do you think that would like make you sick?
I would be more worried about like healing than
like,
whether or not I'm gonna eat myself.
You can put it in the freezer then until you decide.
Like a turkey leg at the Renaissance Fair.
Like instead of being like, okay, now I need to learn how to
Disney
navigate
World.
my life with one arm. I'm just gonna worry about how to like cook my own arm for dinner tomorrow.
Like the curiosity, like, okay, cool, like what if? But again,
is it like one of those giant turkey legs from Disney World? What if it was like that was the next attraction? Like it's Disney World's employee feat, because this movie's Hulu. Hulu's owned by Disney, I think.
God.
So.
No.
All right, moving on from that tangent. Good to know that we're all anti-cannibal, and apparently so is Noah, because she immediately pukes. She has not gone full Will Graham Hannibal yet. Penny also, in the time that Noah was gone on her date of sorts, Penny realized that there was someone else and tells Noah about it. It is Molly, and this is where we confirmed that Penny's a real person.
Yes,
and she has one leg. And
I thought
Steve.
You said Peggy.
Oh my God.
Work. Angelica.
I'm sorry. Oh God. Okay.
And so on their first date wasn't the date where she has the horrendous dress. That has to be known.
Yes.
And so this sequence happens. Steve takes Molly, does something to her in his surgery room, his theater. Then he brings Noah a box, and she like opens it. I was expecting like something distinct of Molly's, and he was just fucking with her. Even when she was like, it's pink, I was like, did he cut her fucking vagina off and give it to Noah? And then it was like, no, it's a dress. And I breathed a sigh of relief. I was really afraid that he was gonna like do something super fucked up to her. And they're like kind of dating now. And I definitely feel like the number one rule in this situation for Steve is don't cheat on your accomplice, which he starts doing.
Yeah.
He starts cheating on his wife, accomplice,
well, he already
and
did.
accomplice.
He already slept with Noah.
Stendon. But he could argue that was to get the meat in the first place. Yeah. But after he's got her, it's cheating. Fellas, is it cheating when you sleep with your prisoner meat cattle? Fellas.
Fellas?
This is
anyone there?
This is where I wrote though, she's playing in his bullshit well, and this is gonna be so funny if she has him fall for her and then gets out or kills him or something. LOL. So
yeah, when he was like, I forgot to handcuff you.
Yeah. He's like, oh, kissy,
I would have been. That's when I thought she was gonna get the knife and stab him, but she was really smart. She was like, okay. She was probably like, yeah, and then was like, keep her cool. But like you didn't see her being like, okay, keep her cool, except when she started crying.
Yeah.
And like but like you didn't
even
see
then, because
she
like
looked totally like she changed.
They make puns about who they're eating. Like at first it's Hope that they're eating, and she's like, haha, that's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
And then for the second dinner with her horrendous dress, they're eating Melissa. They're having pate, so it's her liver. So she's definitely dead by now. R.I.P. Melissa. And then he's like, haha, there's more hope left. She says something else horrendous later that I'll get to. A really bad pun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then he shows her his trophy case, and she sees trophies for Sammy, Melissa, and Penny. So that also confirms to her that Penny is real and also a victim.
Yep.
But she also catches a glimpse of Molly's phone, which I don't know if maybe she was going to be playing a longer game, like... but once she sees Molly's phone, she's like, okay, well, I gotta escape now. Like, it's gotta be now. And they start eating titty meat. And Avery, do you want to say the line that she says?
Save the breast for last.
Gotta love it. It's Molly's. And I didn't get if he was saying might be a... Yeah.
He says, you think this is gonna taste familiar. And when she's getting surgery, she's laying on her back. Yeah.
He cuts off Molly's titty.
Gooped. Well, she was holding her side. I didn't know. Like, she looked like she was holding. Like,
no, she it was like kind of lopsided. when she came. Like it was only one boob, I think, that got taken.
Make it even.
Which also, Noah, what?
I said make it even.
Yeah, just give her a free touch-up, go out looking her best. But Noah, like, still had a butt for the rest of the movie. Like,
I don't
know if they just purposefully cast a skinnier actress and, like, put in, I don't know, inserts or something earlier in the movie.
She didn't have an ass the entire time.
Trust me,
like, she's just a very skinny woman. She, like, didn't have this, like, huge ass.
I thought she was going to get up and have that Hank Hill butt. Like,
I honestly thought
literal,
it
flat.
But
nothing.
There were like, I don't know if it was just that maybe they didn't have like the special effects budget for it or something.
Yeah,
but, like, she had a butt the whole time, and like the pink dress like fit her well, even though the front of it was fucking ugly. But like when they were dancing and stuff, like there were shots of her butt and nothing looked wrong. Like she was just walking in pain like the entire time.
If it were my butt. You would see a difference.
You would know.
You would know.
I couldn't tell if he was like, it's familiar because it's Molly, or because like as a baby, you're on the titty.
Yeah.
As a baby, which again is like apparently that affects like people drink breast milk. How is that different from cannibalism? Yada yada yada. I don't know. We don't know. Brings that up. I can't tell if the people who made this are actually like vegetarian or vegan, or if they're just having a good time with it.
I don't think it was any sort of agenda. I think it was just a horror thriller movie.
Yeah, you're right. Noah has a breakdown at the table, like about everything that's going on, and he like comes to comfort her, and he's like, I didn't even lock you up. And I was like, stab him in the neck with a fork. You have a fork, just stab him and drag it down right in the jugular. He's the game. Dead.
I did think it kind of made sense, though, for, like, even though she was having a breakdown, like, he then wasn't suspicious of her. And I feel like it was because since when he described eating meat or like human meat for the first time, he was like, and it was confusing and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like clearly upset about this thing and like kind of uses that and is like, just because I feel bad, because I don't feel bad, and is like kind of using his own like thought process against him too.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool.
Precisely. And he's like, you're not like other girls.
Mm-hmm. Quirky.
And then we
she
get
wears
another
Converse
dance.
with her dresses, so.
So do I. We get another dance scene and sex scene ? I don't know.
That dance scene reminded me of Ex Machina.
Did he really think that he could have sex with her after cutting her butt off? You need to heal for like 6 weeks at least before getting anything near there.
I wrote, I feel like her ass still hurts, and now they're fucking. That has to be so painful. But they didn't get there, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I got no doggy style, I guess. I'm sorry, that was bad. That was my worst joke yet. Let's get a little worse. She bites his dick off. She gives him a free circumcision.
Free little nubbins.
I wrote, she should bite his dick off, and then in all caps, ha 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 ha, she did. Ha 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 ha.
I thought she was going to cut it off.
She just bites his dick off and then puts toothpaste in his eyes. Yeah, it's amazing.
So that was another thing too. Like he was just like laying on the bed, like in awe that she was about to like fuck him. Like she goes to the bathroom,
letting her go to the bathroom,
letting her go into another room and close the door.
There's
like, come on, man.
There, probably. Yeah.
She just comes out with like her fists closed, and he's like, "What you got there? Nothing." It's like literally. White, just like white shit's just coming out of her knuckles.
Nothing.
She just opens the door like sexily standing there, but like in like a pose with both of her hands completely closed.
It did make me think because so she took it out, but like you don't see her then once she bites his dick off. You don't see her then like put it in her hands to then put into his eyes. So I was like, how like where did she put it? Because he didn't notice it. She like sits him down and he goes to like lean towards her and she pushes him down again so that she can like pretend to start like giving him a blowjob.
She'd have to touch his dick.
And like where is she holding the toothpaste? Like I was just like, what's happening?
When she goes back down, when he goes back the second time, like after pushing him.
Yeah,
she like goes
probably
and then
but I
takes it out. Probably like up her bra or something
as well.
Yeah, exactly.
She'd be like touching his dick with her toothpastey hands. He'd be like, "Tim, girl, your hands are minty fucking fresh." Shit.
New grapefruit method.
Yeah.
Toothpaste method.
The Colgate method.
Oh my god, stop! Stop! Oh my god.
My shiny teeth and me. My
Stop
shiny
it.
dick and me.
Oh my
Damn,
god.
girl, your hands are creamy as shit right now.
Stop it.
What is on there? Then she bites part of its dick off, or I don't know, just enough so that it bleeds. Freak circumcision, I guess. What do you call a cheap circumcision? A ripoff. Then
goodbye.
She breaks Molly and Penny out. They send Penny up in the dumbwaiter because she only has one leg and can't go up the big flight of stairs. Mm-hmm. And then Molly's just going to town on him with a fucking tenderizer as well.
Molly's
which I love
a
because,
badass.
like, it was pretty established that, like, she was obviously the friend who wanted to do the kickboxing. Like, she was much better at the kickboxing earlier. And also, while she is missing a boob, you know, she still has everything. Like, Noah would be severely, you know, affected by not having her glute muscles, and like obviously Penny has no one leg, but she's doing her best. Penny does her best. She kicks him in the chest. And Paul then shows up. He's like driving towards the house. He has no idea what he's rolling up on, and he's like, what is going on here? And he has good horror instincts because he's like, you know what, I'm gonna die if I got out of this car. We'll get to that later though, because the like Steve is now like beaten and bruised and has a gun, and the girls are running, and he's like so pathetic. He's like, no.
Well, they knock him out. They knock him out and they get out of the house.
Dude, yeah, they smack him and he hits his head against the I thought he was
dead. There's a lot of blood everywhere.
How does he have time to put on a jacket? He had like a full fur coat on.
Yeah.
Did he have that
but
on?
no undies.
Yeah.
Sorry, no pants, no pants, just his undies.
I was like, what?
And
okay,
also
so
because like
had
he
time to
left
throw
out
on
the
a
back
jacket?
door. Don't people keep their coats at the front door?
Oh, okay.
So like,
It's
where,
just, well,
but like,
yeah,
where would he get
weird.
the jacket? Like,
why would you have to take the time to put it on?
yeah,
I just loved how pathetic he was at this part.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then Steve is like, fuck this, when he hears the gunshots and leaves, which I really
You mean
liked.
Paul?
Paul.
Sorry, Paul. I liked because, like, if it ended up just being that the girls got saved by, like, a guy who just happened to be there because he had dated Molly and just because he was, like, interested in Molly, and that was the only reason he was really, like, following up on this, I felt that would have, like, really subdued a lot of the messages towards the end of the movie. So I'm really happy that he didn't save them and that he had his good horror instincts, because if he did stay, he would have been killed, because Anne and the henchman guy also roll up very shortly after this. And I can't tell if Anne is more upset at this point that he might be dead because she sees a bunch of blood, or that he was like cheating on her because she also sees like the candlelit dinner and everything. I liked that kind of aspect to it. And I really liked this one shot. We're now back outside. We're in the forest outside his compound. There's a really great shot of like Noah hiding against a tree, and you see Steve in the background. It's like that split focus effect, which I really, really like the look of. Throughout this movie, there's been some really nice shots. Like once it gets past like the rom-com nature of the opening, like it really like opens up to some more creative stuff and just has a really nice aesthetic about it. I just really liked the feel, the kind of psychedelic 70s feel of everything. And that's like a very big staple. He sees her phone light up and goes after her. And all of the girls just gang up on him and like kick the shit out of him. Noah gets his gun and she's like, give me a smile. And he does. And she shoots him in the head and kills him.
Hell yeah.
And
LOL, rip Steve.
And it really is just so funny that in the end he got conned for being horny. He was doing fine. He had his little Etsy business, and then he gets horny once, and now he's dead.
I mean, I think the wife was
Horny.
mad because she probably knew it was like he let his feelings get in the way. Because after you see what she does in the end, it's like she's probably just upset, like this fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like we had a good thing
when
going.
they find his body, she doesn't give a fuck. She's like,
Yeah,
put
she's
him on
literally
ice.
just like,
Gotta clean it. Gotta clean it up.
I was like,
Get him on ice. We gotta sell him. That's good product right there. The three girls leave. Anne is looking for them, but they like are at a farmhouse and nobody's listening. And Noah's like, "Oh shit, I left my phone back there. I gotta get it." And at first I was like, "Leave it," but then I was like, they could very easily find her through her phone. That could be it.
Fair.
Still. So and
she doesn't know that other people
because her friend, and something could happen to her friends or their phone. So I understand why she went back to it. Anne is there, and she's like, you've saved us, blah blah blah, and then she starts choking Noah, which I guess the whole like saved us is like her real part, and then the choking Noah was kind of over the fact that Steve cheated on her with her. I think that was more.
I thought she was just saying it to get closer to her, like physically, like to physically move closer to her.
It could be, yeah, but I also feel like her motives in killing her were less. This is a necessity, and more. You're the other woman kind of thing. And then she's really
brainwashed.
Yeah, and then she stabs Anne in the throat with a set of keys, which is really gnarly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Molly shows up to help because like she's killing her again, and Molly hits her in the head with a shovel and like bashes her brains in. She's like, bitches like you are the fucking problem.
And then laugh so hard.
What got me was Noah's line. She's just like, who the hell is that? And then Molly's like, oh yeah, it's a whole other family. Like, he was married. She's like, he was married?
Yeah, she goes,
which is
what?
Like, we really like take that for granted being the audience. And I'm like, yeah, of course she wouldn't have known this whole time. He's, as far as she knows, that's his house. He goes to work every day.
Yeah.
And comes back. And then we get a needle drop of Dance Till You're Dead by the Yeah Yeahs. And the film closes on a shot of Noah's phone getting a text from Chad saying you up, and then the movie ends. There's a mid-credit scene of like the weird conglomerate of rich white dudes, and they are eating the human meat, and it's like all satanic and stuff, and that is Fresh. The end. See, we really quickened up once we got past that first half hour. There's a lot that like establishes and then comes back. Yeah. I really liked the kind of like setup and payoff of a lot of the foreshadowing and jokes in a sense. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I appreciate the puns as well. How did you guys feel about it? How we usually wrap things up here is give it a score out of 10, say our favorite character and our favorite scene, and like kind of go over strengths and weaknesses of the movie that you felt. Jess, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So overall, I thought it was pretty good. I think a lot of it was predictable, although that wasn't like necessarily a negative thing, because I think like it establishes so much that like as long as you remember the first half hour, you can kind of guess what happens. There's not really like a huge twist other than the fact that it's like a business and not just him being a psycho killer.
I didn't know that it was a business. I mean, I
didn't either, but I also
expecting...
didn't think that was like a twist necessarily. It was just like, oh, okay, this is like his motive kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how he hasn't gotten caught.
Exactly.
I was expecting him to just be like a lone operator. But,
yeah, I thought it was just going to be like typical,
or even like a fucking vampire or something. I don't know,
something crazy. Yeah. Yeah. So I think like that was okay. I think the whole like the end you up thing, like I get why they did it, but after the first half hour, like it didn't actually have to be about like online dating. Like it didn't like I feel like they tried to push the fact that like online dating is the new way to meet people, and like that didn't need to be a part of it. It could have just been like she's sick of trying to find people, gets swept up in this whole thing, but then like her and her friend kind of got out of it and like won out in the
I think
end.
it's just like showing like the cycle continues. Like they just did all this shit and then it's just like, okay, nothing.
Yeah,
none of
like
it really
it's
matters
not like they
right
changed
now.
anything. Like they just escaped a bad situation. So like that, it was an okay ending, I guess. But then I do kind of like, I said this before, but I do like it that they just like the last shot is like Molly and Noah sitting against the tree, basically telling each other like what they learned in trying to find each other, or, like get out of the situation, instead of like a whole "where are they now" type deal, because that would have been stupid. But so I liked the amount of information that they gave us. It left me like curious about certain things, but not in a way that I felt like something was missing, which I appreciated. I also like would not classify it as a horror, I guess, just because like out of like horror movie, like this definitely felt like thriller to me instead of like a horror movie.
Definite thriller territory.
Because I was like I thought it was that anyway, and I was like surprised that Hulu categorized it as a horror movie. So I was like,
I think just because the body horror of it.
Exactly. Because the worst part really, I mean, obviously like all the fake meat, whatever, but like you could tell it was like chicken around like a plastic bone, so like that wasn't like too crazy. But Anne's neck was probably like the worst part about it, as far as like the gore of it. because it's not like you see Noah's butt or anything. Like, you don't see any of the aftermath. It's just like a bunch of big legs and hands and stuff like that. So whatever. But anyways, so overall, I would probably give it like a 6.5 rating. Like, I didn't hate it. It's not like my favorite movie that I've seen, and like I liked it, but like kind of middle of the road. I don't think I'm gonna watch it again, kind of thing. I think the hype on TikTok kind of like blew it up a lot more than like what it was.
I never even saw it on TikTok.
I mean, it wasn't really hyped for me. I went into it expecting, that
I saw a lot of people that were like, "You need to watch it. It's crazy," and I was like, "It was all right."
I saw one Instagram post about it.
Really? Okay, so maybe I don't know.
For me, I got the impression a lot of people, especially with like movies like X and stuff coming out recently, a lot of people saying like this was good horror for like 2022, but it's not the best. Like,
that's exactly
X,
how I felt.
Scream, like there are better movies out this year, or in the last couple of years especially. Like, and that's one of my cons. I'll let you finish, and I'll get to mine.
Yeah, no, that's exactly, like, I think also because, like, I mean, obviously we watch like one movie a week for this podcast, but like in just the movies that we've seen recently, like for horror, like it was good, cool movie, and that's kind of it. Like, it wasn't outstanding for me, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. My favorite character was Molly. I thought she was really funny, and I thought she played a good like rom-com character trope turned like horror survivor type thing. And I just thought she was like a good character. I did like Noah in the beginning just because I thought it was like the funny, I'm sick of dating, whatever, and then she's like swept up, whatever, but then like, gets out of it and is like the heroine. But I think Molly was my favorite one. And then my favorite scene, I think just the entire ending of them escaping, just because that felt the most exciting to me. And again, I don't know if it was because like I was trying to piece together the mystery of it as it was going, but I felt like I was paying the most attention because I was like, oh my God, and like now Anne is here and is she involved in what's going to happen and who's going to die, like that kind of thing. And I felt like it was the most exciting part of the movie. And so, I tend to like endings better anyway because it's like everything coming together. So, but there you go. There you have it, folks.
I gotta agree with you. I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10. In terms of strengths, I really liked the vibe, the 70s psychedelic feeling of it, the way that it was shot, especially as it progressed. I really liked the soundtrack. I thought it was like perfectly cheesy. It hit when it wanted to be in terms of the comedy, but I also feel like that a lot of that, and my biggest plus is Sebastian Stan's performance. I think, honestly, without him, this movie is like a 5 or below for me. Like, I feel like he just carried a lot of it on his back, of like the comedy and the tone was really set by his performance. And like Molly, like I thought Daisy Edgar-Jones did a good job, but like she didn't really do enough for me. Like I'm very much in terms of like horror when it comes to horror movies. I really like a good survivor character or main character, final girl, whatever you want to call it. So much so I have a Letterboxd list. Check it out at danspring96 on Letterboxd. And it's just like in comparison to so many of the other of her contemporaries, she came out as very blah to me, and yet like Molly I was more interested in. I kind of wished it was Molly's story from the get-go. Like,
but that would have also just been... I don't think Noah would have been good at like finding Molly.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it still should have been Noah that got taken, but that it's like following the rom-com friend from here on out, like what they would be doing, and sense. Like cutting back in still in the way, but I don't know. I just felt Noah, and it's not really her fault. I guess my cons were that sometimes the script, like the dialogue, was pretty grating as well. Like, it could be really funny, but then also sometimes I was just like, with the whole fuck Ariel thing, and just like, I was like, okay, we get it. And like you said, at the end with the you up thing, like, do we have to bring it back around to that? Like, it could have just
like, had they not, I wouldn't have been like,
oh,
then they just like marketed it as like an online dating thing. Like, they didn't have to, because you forget by that point,
Exactly. I wonder if this is based on any like actual situation. I mean, like, because there's like the Craigslist killer and stuff like that, of like people who would do this kind of stuff. I think there was like a Tinder killer too. And as I said, it didn't really do a lot of new stuff. Like in the past like year, we've gotten X, Scream, Malignant, like some really, really, I mean, like some really good horror. And even though Scream and X like are both slashers, they at least like kind of play with the genre more than this kind of plays with.
And
like,
X also does a better job of like that old feel, that like 70s feel. Like it was really just his house. That was like the only real 70s.
I mean, this clearly
it,
wasn't a period piece set in the 70s.
No.
It was like just going for that vibe of,
but
like,
as far in terms
psychedelic,
of like creating a successful vibe, I felt like X did it better
thriller.
than, you know what I mean? So.
And you know, this movie is just short of 2 hours long, and I really felt like we could lose some stuff. We could like.
I kept checking the time a lot.
You really start to feel it drag, and honestly, that could be from the beginning. That you could cut a clear 15 minutes from the first half hour of the movie, and it would function just
literally
just as well.
Like cut the boxing scene.
Yeah, like there were just parts that like felt like dead weight essentially.
Yeah, like why was she doing push-ups? There was no need. Like in the room.
Yeah,
I was like,
I think it was because
I
think that was to show that she was like prepared, like, you know, trying to stay fit to escape. And like,
yeah, I don't know. It just felt like it's like your little arms is not going to make a difference.
Yeah,
against him. But I get it. Yeah, trying to. I would just try to walk around more. I wouldn't do push-ups. I would try to walk around.
Yeah, especially if she's trying to like
to get your ass moving.
Yeah, she's trying to run away. Like
yeah,
I mean,
walk again.
I forget. It might even be the Black Door because I read the short story. But in something like this, like the person starts conditioning themselves, like literally just running back and forth in their cell when the person isn't around to like get their stamina and endurance up, because they know like when it's time to go, I'm gonna have to like be able to run unimpeded. It might be that. It might be something else, like, or just, you know, I get why she was doing it, but you know, I just also felt like it dragged sometimes where we could have had a snappy 90-minute movie. Instead we got a kind of draggy 114.
And especially because like horror movies are supposed to be shorter, so like I understand it's more so of a thriller, but like I think it would have been more impactful.
Yeah, and there can be long horror.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong, some great horror is long,
but something like this wasn't like excellent enough that like it needed to be 2 full hours.
Yeah.
You know?
If you want like a story like this that's shot better and has better writing, just watch Hannibal. I know it's a whole show, but just watch Hannibal. Like, if you want like a good like cannibal story that's more contemporary than the old Hannibal movies, you know, I have to suggest that. So yeah, 6.5. I really like Sebastian Stan. I really like Jonica T. Gibbs. But there was just like too much dragging, and as you said, it could have been gorier. I would have liked just a little bit more gore.
Exactly.
Maybe it's about eating people.
Yeah.
Let's give us
and
some.
And instead, they were just like
gore.
The worst gore was just them eating and making a lot of sounds. It was really hard to hear. I hated it. Stop.
I think it was just like to show
that
that
meatball
like...
looked gross as fuck. I like meatballs a lot, but that shit was like red. Yeah. Anyway, Avery, give us your. Oh, sorry. My favorite scene was Noah waking up and that confrontation. Mm-hmm. Favorite character, Steve, because of Sebastian Stan's performance. That's my 2 cents. Cool.
I agree with everything. Well, I was gonna say, I think they didn't show a lot of gore with the eating because they like try to be more civilized, quote unquote, about it.
That's true.
Because you hear about these like savages eating people, and they think they're probably different because they're doing it in a better way.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But I agree. The only thing that kind of hung me up was just like, you know, you have the typical sassy black friend who's always aware of everything going on, and this like stupid white girl, which I'm not mad about the stupid white girl. Like, white girls are stupid sometimes, but like it's just like that typical casting.
She was infuriatingly stupid in the beginning.
Yeah,
like,
and it's just like
ignoring the red flags.
And like that casting is just kind of just like, I'm just tired of it. And it's like, it doesn't have to be a race thing when if she was the one that was like, if Molly was actually the victim, but I just would rather not have 2 white people being the lead and then 2 black people being the supporting characters, being the ones that save the day.
The only reason I would say is it's playing off the rom-com idea where it's always everybody who's person of color is never the main character. I feel
but then it was like that could be an excuse to not have a person of color, to be like, oh, it's just part of the trope, and it's like, okay, we know it's a trope, you don't have to like highlight that as much, because then that just gives someone an excuse to not have a black lead. And so I was just like feeling just like that kind of was just like It's like when she was like, "This is my best friend," I was like, "Okay, here we go." Like, it's just kind of the same thing. So that's like really the only thing. I mean, I think my favorite scene was, you already know, when she tries to escape and he's like, "Bad girl."
Stop it.
No, because I think he's hot. I think he just gives me gender envy. Like when they were like having their little like that, and not emotional envy. No, for real. I think he was giving me that, so I was like, okay, that's why I thought he was so hot. But like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't that scary. There were no jump scares or anything like that, or like it was just like, yeah, it did move kind of slow. If I have to check the time on a movie, that's how I know it's like, okay,
yeah,
not
I agree.
like I'm like
when I saw Morbius, those 2 hours flew by for me. Like I was engaged, 100%. We all were
really delivered.
Yeah, Matt Smith, Jared Leto. I just couldn't get enough of it.
I mean, Jared Leto's your favorite actor, so you know.
Yeah, if that's my biggest gripe is I don't think Sebastian Stan did as well as Jared Leto could have in this movie. I would say
he wants to play a pedophile, so Sebastian Stan better get on that competition.
Oh God!
You're gonna get a YouTube channel deleted, Avery.
Sorry.
So what would you rate it out of 10? And who was your favorite character? What was your favorite scene? Oh, your favorite scene was the bad girl. Yeah,
I think Molly and Steve were my favorite.
Nice.
I think that I do want to see Daisy more though. Like that actor, I know she's in Normal People, and that got me interested. I was like, okay, I might watch that.
Mm-hmm.
She's British.
Would rate it probably like the same. I thought it was like a 9 out of 10, but then I don't know horror movies as well. And you guys brought up some really good points, and I was like, okay, actually,
well,
like, I'm not changing my opinion.
Stick to your guns if you have.
Well, no, because now like it brought up points that like I was just enjoying it. It was a movie that I enjoyed, but like
that's
wasn't
one
like
of the hardest things about
something
this
where I'm like you have to watch it.
I do the same thing. I watch movies and like I don't rate them on Letterboxd. I'm like I enjoyed watching it or I did not enjoy watching it. So then having to rate
fun.
That's honestly if you don't want to give it a numerical value, you don't have to. I don't think that's needed at all. You can say I enjoyed it or I didn't enjoy it.
But there's movies like the movie I told you to watch. There's movies that I'm like passionate about, and this one just is like
The Night House.
I would tell people, oh, it's wild. That's it.
Oh, by the way, Cursed is available now, so I want to check that movie. And like, it's just like we keep getting
check that out too.
These more like when it comes to horror, and I don't like the idea of elevated horror because I think horror has always been a standout genre anyway. But we just get horror that's now inventing, and maybe this movie is affected by the fact that 2 days before I saw it, I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is like
that. That's
literally
a good point.
one of the best movies I've seen in a. Well, I really like the Batman, but it's a different best kind of movie, which like just really played with the format of a film a lot.
Yeah.
And the night before I watched this movie, I watched The Evil Dead, the first one, for the first time in years, and that's like one of the best horror movies ever made in terms of like what it did for the genre and what they achieved with the gore in that. So that could be affecting my opinion. If I were to ever watch this again, I might have a completely different feeling for it. And I know that Jess, my girlfriend, didn't want to watch it because she'd heard about what happened and it freaked her out so much. So maybe, it doesn't need the gore if it works with your fucking with your brain enough in terms of like what would someone with no butt look like. Hank Hill. Like, but yeah, I guess just like putting that image in your mind and like, oh god, that would be uncomfortable and stuff. That body horror without actually showing it. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining us, Avery. Happy
Thanks
to
for having
have
me.
you. The upcoming schedule includes what's up next. This is coming out on the 15th. So up next we have a commentary for Howl's Moving Castle coming out on the 22nd, Earth Day. Happy Earth Day. Followed by Akira on the 29th of April. I almost just said 29. That will be another review like this, and follow that up with the sexiest, bluest movie ever made, Megamind.
Oh my god.
I literally texted Dan and I was like, it only just now has occurred to me I've never seen that movie, so we should watch it for the podcast.
You guys need to do Monsters vs. Aliens. That movie is top tier.
Oh boy.
Are you saying that's sexy? I mean, it has that giant lady. Like, what if?
Anyways.
And The Night House. Y'all gotta watch The Night House.
I don't know about y'all, but Cursed came out. Wouldn't mind checking that out. And The Batman's coming to HBO Max in 1 week.
Please don't make
me. And The Night Of
please
is
don't
out
make me
on
do
HBO
I will
Max,
make you
so
watch
watch
that. It's almost my birthday, so
you came.
What, Avery?
You came. I'm the Riddler. I'm the Riddler.
Oh, okay.
In a little gimp suit.
If you are justice. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Movie Night Mates. We are Movie Night Mates on Twitter. If you like this, please leave us a follow on whatever podcast app you're using, and please give us a nice 5-star review. That really helps out. But what helps out most is just telling people to check us out. We've been getting a little bit more traction, so thank you for doing that. If you're doing that, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm the amazing Spider _Dan. Jess is
Jessica _ pretty much everywhere.
Pretty much everywhere. And Avery is
A in the sink Av.
Everywhere.
Yep.
So that's us. Call us. We can talk more about it. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week for another movie night. Goodbye.
Bye.